talk to you, excited to hear some stories from you. I know you guys just took a loss, but I just want to start off just kind of hear what you saw tonight, kind of from your lens.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be on with you, man. And one thing I do want to say is we lost one of our soldiers this past week, and I want to give a shout out to the Wayne Rapper family. Prayers with you. We're all a basketball family, so anytime one of us passes, it's a big deal. So just want to give a rest in peace to him and his family, and condolences all the way around. But tonight, man. It was what I've seen all year when it comes to IU basketball. I think their issues on the floor is an easy fix, but it's going to have to be fixed through next year recruiting. I think that staff is more than capable of recruiting the type of basketball player that you need today, to succeed. And at the end of the day, I've always been harping on my show, and when I do some interviews, and I talk about the scoring, man. In order to win in this league, or in order to win a national championship today, you got to score 75 to 80 points, and that can't be at the end of the game. And today, Purdue got in a nice shooting rhythm after not shooting the ball well. You got to know in college basketball that if they didn't shoot the ball well last game, that this game they're going to shoot the basketball well. Those way things average out. And they came out with a nice rhythm. And then one thing you can't do is allow a team to go inside, score inside and out. You got to take away one. And once they got in that rhythm, IU stayed close, but it was hard to get them out of that rhythm. And that confidence carried on. Once again, IU didn't see much scoring in transition. I think IU's a great defensive team, but when you're a great defensive team, you got to generate points, easier points off your defense. And then when you're in half court offense, there's not as much pressure on your half court offense to score. So I think those things need to be shored up. I think Purdue on the other hand played extremely well, controlled the basketball. They got the ball where they needed to go. Even when IU turned up the pressure, they handled the pressure a little bit. So you got that good inside, outside game, and that's a recipe for disaster. That's what you want from your team, and on the other team, you want to try to stop that.
Right. Nah, and on my end, I'm pretty excited. This is the 8th in a row. We haven't lost to IU since my senior year. I think we got one stolen from us. So being a legend, say that again?
When did you graduate?
2016.
Lord. Dang, I didn't know that until we talked about getting on this show. I didn't.
Yeah.
I follow, but I wasn't following every single day. But now,
I got you.
I'm like, dang, that's a long time.
But even before that, we had beat them 3 straight times before that. So for being on the other end of it, for being somebody of your caliber, for being a legend, a player of the year, NBA player from IU, playing for the Bob Knight, what's it like, the rivalry? What does it mean to you when this game comes on?
You can see the intensity, and one thing that's really helped this year is there's no outside influence. There's no fans. There's nobody talking about your mama in the crowd. There's nobody, what I'm saying? Ain't nobody trying to grab you and trip you on your way to the locker room. So a lot of those things are gone. But I remember my first experience playing against Purdue. Man, Purdue beat us by like 15 or 16 in Mackey, but it really wasn't a game. And I remember. Because they had Brad Miller, they had Chad Austin, it was a whip out there.
Right.
And it's my first experience, and it's physical, it's loud. Brad is slapping people in the back of the head. Ryan Cardinal falling all over the floor, you know what I'm saying? And they getting the calls. And I just remember Coach Knight let our starting center, rest in peace, Jason Collier, he let him foul out with like 13 minutes left in the game. And I was looking at this dude like, what are you doing, man? Like, you can still come back. But I think he knew, like, man, this is over.
It's over.
We need to learn to regroup. But when we got home, I swear to you, we had 3 practices right off the bus from West Lafayette. We had a practice at 6 a.m., we had a practice at 12, and then we had another practice at 4.
In the same day?
In the same day. Right off the bus. This is how serious this is. I think he was sending a message for us, like, hey, this ain't happening like that.
Yeah.
We don't lose. Competing, we don't lose. So we ran. It's one of them practices where you run for everything. Turnover. We had like 37 managers. So every turnover, every manager had a player. The turnovers was a sprint. The offensive rebounds was a sprint. You get scored on, it was a sprint. So by the end, we each had probably 50 to 60 down and back 2 times to run.
Right.
Turnover was everything was a sprint, and the message was very clear from that day for me. It's like you play your best against Purdue. And
I feel that.
From that point forward, I think I averaged like 25 a game on Purdue. In my mind, I'm like, I ain't going through that. Like it's not. So, and that's the rivalry right there from my point of view.
No, I appreciate that because for me, I'll tell you a quick story. For me, my senior year in high school, I'm at Loudon Prep School. Me and Jay Simpson, we're committed to Purdue. We signed to Purdue. Purdue loses to Indiana twice that year. Victor Oladipo is a sophomore, I think. That next summer, we come in on our very first workout. We just came from high school. Paint lines everybody up. First thing we do, double suicide in a minute for losing to Indiana twice. Jay Simpson looked over and was like, "We wasn't even here yet." He said, "We don't lose to Indiana, and definitely not twice." So no, I feel you. Those days and all that. Because I mean, my freshman year, kind of similar to what you're saying. My freshman year was when they had a whip. That's what Jordan Halls, Wofford, Zeller, Big. That's when it looked like Indy 500 out there. Yeah. So my freshman year, they came into Mackey and they probably beat us by 40. I mean, you had Will Cheeky pumping to the crowd. So no, I feel you.
Yeah. Jordan Holmes was talking about that yesterday on my pod. He was hey, did you win against Purdue? He said, yeah. And then my producer looked up the stats and they beat guys 17 one time. I know it felt like 40 to you. At home, it definitely felt like 40, but it was 17 one time. I think it was 20 the other time. So
yeah, they beat us. They beat us at Assembly Hall that year, and Victor, I think, rolled his ankle. He rolled his ankle, and then he came back in the crowd. In the gym, I don't think I ever heard an arena get that loud before. It was at that time where Paint just kind of, it would just call the dogs back in, and we all just kind of watched it happen. That's when they roared for him like it was Superman coming back into the arena. It kind of reminded me of a situation for Chris Kramer when Manny Harris elbowed him in the nose in Mackey. It was kind of that type of moment. But nah. Yeah. But for you coming in I'm just curious and just more about you because I'm always curious to talk to different legendary people. But what kind of made you decide to go to IU, go play for Coach Knight? I'm sure you heard how tough he was. I'm sure you heard that you will be running a lot. What kind of got you to go there?
I mean, it's eerie because we're talking about Purdue, but my final visit was a IU-Purdue game, and I believe IU lost. Either they lost because even when you didn't play well, it felt like you lost with Coach Knight. Right. So you had to win the right way. You had to do the right thing. So I remember going in the locker room, and he had a funny way of recruiting. He was just, hey, so you coming here or what? We don't lose games. He said, we don't lose games like that if a player like you are here. And I was like, yeah, I'm coming. And that pretty much was it. But the recruitment up to that was more naive. I'm gonna be completely honest with people. I had no idea. I wasn't as educated about Coach Knight. You know what I mean? I didn't know about him and his style and what it was after I committed that people was like, man, what you doing? Like, why you going there, man? He don't like black players, man. I was like, the same dude I saw, like, chopping it up with Michael Herman, who was there at that time, and
right.
And Calbert Cheney, who I did remember from IU at that time. Shoot. So, and I'm like, so now I'm thinking as I get there, like, man, did I make the right choice? The videos coming out, the chairs and the bumping the heads, and I'm like, man, all right. So we go in, and it was very, very, I won't say easy, but I was prepared.
Right.
Coach Knight liked players who were gym rats. Guys that loved the game.
Yeah.
So passion for the game, and I think right away he saw that I was a kid that I was there to play basketball, like all the other stuff. I was there to hoop, and I was there to try to win games and help the team get better. I mean, I didn't come in as a 5-star, so I came in as they like, who is this little dude? Like, what he's gonna do for us? Like, you know what I mean? So after about the 5th game, they're like, oh, he can play, but still, what are you gonna do? Yeah. You know what I mean? It wasn't until my freshman year, I think we played Michigan and Purdue back to back, and I had a couple really big games. And like, oh, that's why he here. So it's like, so Coach Knight, playing for him, I would redo it all over again. I'll do it even better than I did it last time.
That's what's up. Nah, that's cool. Then so you get to your senior year. I mean, you're a top dog in the conference. Mm-hmm. What's it like going into Mackey? going to play against Gene, Katie, and Mackey. You the top dog, so I know you hearing it from whatever the paint crew was called back then. And I know at that time too, you were playing against. I know that was Mike Robb. That was a good team you came against. Yeah. So what was that like?
Miller, what's my man Lefty? Jerron Cornell.
Yep.
My man, the McQuay brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Purdue has always had great talent, but it was tough, man. Because one thing I liked about it was like you can't hear the coaches, like, and that's it's a game for basketball players. Like if you're a dude that like to look over there to the bench trying to figure out, you don't have time to do that in Mackey. I know I didn't in Mackey Arena because they were a little bit below the court almost.
Yeah.
So you couldn't really. It was like I ain't looking over there, but I just remember walking in that gym. I had great games in that gym, man, and it was just it seems so small, but it's not small because when it gets loud, I don't think there's any arena outside of Assembly Hall that can get louder than Mackey Arena. And Assembly Hall, it's just the way it's structured and built. It's good for those acoustics, but I just remembered great shooting rims. I had great shooting nights in there, and just the intensity, man, and how everybody seemed to be on top of you. Even the people in the little hallway in the tunnel seemed to be like on top of you. And I love that kind of atmosphere. That's why they brought the best out of me.
Right. And they were probably at that time for you guys, that rivalry was so intense. I bet you had fans sleeping outside. Yeah. Y'all probably had. I heard a story about Rick Mount. He said his mom, I don't mean to laugh. That wasn't funny. But he said his mom, a fan that they found out that was his mom, a fan that elbowed her in the back of the neck and knocked her to the ground. Was the rivalry was it that intense for y'all? It wasn't for us. For us, as intense as it got was my brother was a barber in Bloomington. He went to IU, my brother and sister. He had a barbershop in Bloomington. Then he migrated to Indianapolis. So he would cut Yogi and James Blackman and all those guys' hair. And then myself, John Octius. So that was about as intense as it got for us. But for y'all, I know in the 90s, it was a little different days. Was the rivalry intense then, or how was that?
The way the game has changed makes it less intense.
Yeah.
It was a wrestling match, especially the second time you played them. Like it was like, man, whoever the most in shape, whoever the strongest, and whoever make the plays in the end was going to win the game at the end of the day. So, and Purdue at that time was extremely physical. Their front line was, Brad Miller, Brian Carter, and Mike Robinson. And then off the bench, they was bringing, I forgot my man's name, but one of the McQuay brothers I forgot Roddy something. I forgot his last name. They would bring him on. He was 6'7", 6'8". The Big Ten was so much more physical back then. So, man, I never that would have been the end of my career. Somebody would have elbowed my mom in the back of the head. I probably wouldn't be. I'd be going for blood when I came back to Mackey Arena, but because that's a problem. But I knew it just from Coach Knight and his preparation. I knew it was two teams that you didn't play your worst against, and that was Purdue and that was Michigan. Those are two teams that, if you didn't play well against them, is a problem. Like, and you had to do you lost. We lost one time on a buzzer beater from Chad Austin's buzzer beater. I hit the three to tie the game, thinking I'm finna go into overtime. Chad hit a dribble fadeaway jump shot and just cashed that mug. And I was exhausted because it was so intense. It was tired, it was physical. And to just lose on a tough shot like that, but then you realize in the summertime what you really pumping iron for, what you really run these hills for. It's to win that basketball game.
Nah, that's what's up. Did y'all ever happen to play for Purdue for any type of championships or anything like that, or any tournaments or anything?
The one thing we did play for, we kept them from winning the Big Ten my senior year. They came in our building on senior night. And we lost. I mean, we beat them on senior night, and that was just as gratifying. We can't get it. Y'all can't get it either. I feel you. So everybody's happy after that.
I feel you.
And I got a Peoria guy. Mike Robinson's from where I'm from.
Right. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
He didn't get that one. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
Can you imagine that somebody playing at Mackey and IU comes in and wins the Big Ten on your court? You would never
tough.
Down as a basketball player. Like
that's tough. No, we
at you sideways.
We came in last place in the Big Ten my sophomore year, so you can imagine how tough that was. But the one game that counted. It's like all records went out the window was against IU. We beat IU at home. It's like for a week on campus, everybody forgot that we
Exactly. I thought about this game. I said, if IU win this game, my fans are gonna back off for a couple weeks. They you know what I mean? That's just the way it is. Like, we 3-7, but we beat Purdue. Like, expectations y'all got. So same for you. Let me ask you a question though, man. You're looking at this year's team, man. What do you think they're coming together at the right time, and what did you see as the keys, to help to propel them into tonight's game?
No, yeah, I think they're coming together at the right time. I think Travion's leadership is starting to show with Eric Hunter. I think Eric Hunter getting back in shape was big. I think because, he was doing really, really, really well preseason. He gets hurt. He's out. Especially with a knee injury. He's easy to get out of shape a little bit, especially if you're a point guard playing 38, 39 minutes a game. Mm-hmm. So I think now that he's in the flow and he's kind of controlling the tempo, I think that the game is easier for everybody else. But Travion, these last few games, he just been trying to be dominant.
Right.
So then you have, the way Jaden Ivey, his aggression, is one of those things you can't really teach. Right. And now he's starting to learn to control it. Tonight, I thought he had times where it may have seemed as if he was overly aggressive, but I think he had times where he would drive and kick, make the right play, drive, get fouled. I think his progression during the season would be huge for the bench. But no, I think if Sasha makes shots and Aaron Wheeler made a couple of shots, I think this team, especially for us to be so young, I think it's coming together perfectly for the years to come.
Y'all riding an 8-game win streak, and some of them wins came when you played, man. And so so the IU faithful can get an understanding of what it's like playing against IU. What do you remember your game plan or the way you felt like you could attack to go into IU, a place like Assembly Hall, and win every time?
Well, yeah, my freshman year was, they're one of the better teams in the country. But after that, they always had a good big man. Normally, they had they went through Noah Vonleh, they had Thomas Bryant, they had they went to had OG and all those guys. But we always had AJ, so we always had AJ to protect the basket, AJ Hammond. So it's one of those things where we knew we could always play 1-on-1 with the NBA big guys. So if we could contain Yogi or contain James Blackman Jr., it's one of those things where we turn it into a guards game. And for me, the way I approached it, I went to middle school with Lil James. I'm 8th grade, he's 6th grade. We're on the same middle school basketball team. So I know how Lil James play. My only thing is to let James get as many points as shots as he takes. So if I do that going in, and we know Yogi gets his 20, but if James gets 20 on 20, we in good position. And if AJ can kind of neutralize the middle. That was it was always more of a, especially with me, it was more of a defensive attack kind of that way. But now going into Assembly Hall, it's one of those moments where you walk in and it's pregame and it's fans right there screaming. Those signs are different. You read those little pregame notes before the fans. Those are different. So it's always a great time. Especially for me, it was Yogi, myself, AJ, we all on the same AAU team. We were freshmen in high school. Like I said, James and I went to middle school together. So it was one of those things where we all knew each other. We all kind of familiar. Like I said, my brother cut hair. They had a big article in any Star about the barbershop and whatnot. So it was more of a competition, but you knew you could talk about it after.
Right.
It was always a fight, though. It was especially winning there. And winning there, you can hear a pin drop. So it's always cool.
First of all, I'm not gonna let you get away with calling him Lil James. Now you can call him Lil James since y'all won 8 in a row. I was like, well, if he listening to this, like, come on, James, don't let him call you Lil James. We sons y'all.
No, that's Lil James because his dad is Big James.
I knew that.
I love Lil James. I don't want no smoke.
But you think about it, and I'm gonna ask you this: you guys are more like you talked about. You play with these guys on the AAU scene. Do you think that factors in to the lack? I don't say lack of it's intense, but it's not as it used to be, because at the end of the day, kind of feel sorry for Lil James. Like we beating your head in like that. Kind of
your guy.
That's my guy, though. You know what I'm saying? You think that factors in at all?
No, I get what you're saying because for me it never did. For me, it was always a dog-eat-dog world. But I get what you're saying and how some guys go about it, because you can play the buddy ball.
Yeah.
So no, I think the game has definitely got. I mean, no disrespect to AAU. I came up through the AAU program, but I definitely think it's made the game a little softer because this is a time where you spending time with these guys in the summer. You can't really fake it in the games. Whereas though back in the day, you really see these guys at high school tournaments. Maybe you may see them at the park, and dudes now, as far as intensity, I was just talking about it today. Nobody's playing outside at the park anymore. It's not as nobody's getting in these. You know what I mean? Everybody. So so stuff like that has kind of changed the game. But yeah, when you know everybody, and me, I didn't really care who you were, but there was guys that you would know who was who and who was friends and whatnot.
Right, definitely. Definitely. That's always an important part, man, is just first of all, AAU, we all played a little AAU basketball, but
Right, right.
like just listening to you talk, I'm like, man, yeah, you could do that subconsciously. It's like you feel, you're not as aggressive as you would be against somebody that who you was a rival. You really want to beat them, but I think the it's still there. I think IU has to really, really do some soul searching when it comes to how they approach this game. Losing 8 in a row, to anybody, is unacceptable, especially in Assembly Hall, where I know there's no fans right now, but those other 7 games, it was fans in there. So they lost the game when we came back for Coach Knight's reunion. They lost that game. So but I think
I was there.
they have some holes. They need a point guard that can play make. They don't have anybody that can get in the lane when things break down and get an easy shot. You were hoping Rob Finney was going to be that guy, but you can tell he has some struggles mentally on the court. And then you need. I really, really think they should go a little smaller. I would consider, and I know IU fans might kill me for this, but I would consider bringing Race Thompson off the bench, starting Jerome Hunter, and if I'm gonna stretch it out, and I'm gonna try to get him going early, get the double teams off of TJD early. Let them double him, let him kick it out, see if we can make some shots. And I'm definitely in practice gonna push, getting rebounds. Like when I played, my whole goal was to get the basketball and dribble up as fast as I could to see if I can make the defense collapse. See if I should get layups just pushing the basketball. Or if I'm on the wing, I'm running hard as I can to my spot to get an open 3. And I know Coach Miller's probably going to let you shoot that. If you're a shooter, you get an open 3. But we got to get guys out running, because when I look at the film, and I look at film from 93, and I look at film from 2002, all those highlights show running. They show Cody Zeller streaking down the lane, Oladipo streaking down the lane, Wofford on the other wing, or they show Kyle Chaney streaking down the lane. They show Allen Henderson running the lane. We run way too much offense, in my opinion. And I wonder, is it just because Coach Miller was like, we want to get the best shot possible with the guys we got in, or does he have that trust in them to get the game going up and down a little bit, because we don't have the physical. You guys have the opportunity to play big and physical. You can do that. You can play with Williams. You can play with the big guy off the bench. You can throw. We don't have that because Joey Punk is out. We can't play that way.
That's true.
We need to push the tempo a little, get easier baskets, because when you miss those shots in your offense, they get great looks in their offense, but it's a lot of pressure on those shots when you're not scoring. And I don't know what the final score was. I think we had like 70 something, but this is not enough to beat Purdue. I looked at Purdue. I'm like, this team underachieved then if they 3-3.
Right. No. Yeah, no. If we lost a lot of tough games on the road, especially because you think about, like you were talking about, our size. I mean, Sasha and Brandon Newman, I mean, they're both 6'5", 6'6". That's our 2 and our 3. Then Eric Hunter 6'3" as a point.
Right.
So, I mean, especially when those three, with those three, and I think that when I think about those three, I think about when I kind of compare that shooting ability to kind of when you would think of Dakota, PJ, and Carson on the court at the same time. Absolutely. And then you have Vince, Isaac, and Biggie down there down low. Mm-hmm. So if this group could kind of grow into that way, you have that type of shooting. This one is, to me, it's one of the paint's deepest and most skilled teams just across the board.
Right.
But then you have Aaron Wheeler, his ability to come in and just make shots. Yeah. So I think this team definitely because Eric was. I think if it was a fifth, I mean, you know what I'm saying. Right. So I mean, if Eric is in on the road against Clemson at Miami, I think we win those games. So I mean, It's one of those things where I think we just keep going. So I don't think our record kind of tells us where we are, especially if Jaden keeps progressing. But no, I think IU for like you were saying, I agree with what you said. I mean, if you let just TJD just kind of control the middle, and then you let the other fella come off the bench and bring his type of energy off the bench. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're going through. I mean, his energy kind of because I mean, for me, I just kind of wanted to tweet out. I couldn't. He just wanted it.
Right, exactly.
He just played hard, and that's kind of the guy you want to come off the bench. I mean, Basil Smotherman was that for us at times. I was that for us in my younger days. You need somebody to just go out there and that's going to play as hard as they can, get every rebound, and want to give your star a break without taking them out the game.
Right.
So no, I agree with that because it allows him to be more comfortable because he's not that comfortable shooting the three or that much. So it kind of reminds me a little bit when I played when you had AJ and Biggie in at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
And we kind of could never really we didn't have enough shooting to do that.
Right. And then,
now we have enough shooting. Well, I was the problem. I'm gonna just be honest. Exactly. I couldn't shoot. PJ and Dakota could make shots. I couldn't shoot it good enough. So if you got three of those guys, it makes sense. But if you could just let that next year is when I left, is when they kind of went Biggie in the middle and went Vince at the floor, and they gave them three shooters and they won the Big Ten. So I think that will help IU. I do.
All right, we got a little question over here from Augie Carrington. It says, with the shooting woes from three, why is Archie not running more of the O through TJD? And and one thing I encourage fans not to do, they always continue to blame offense. Get the ball inside, get the ball inside. If we're going to talk about playing up tempo, what's going to slow us down is having to just throw it inside every single time.
Exactly.
And the thing about TJD,
I
think he's good enough to get 10 to 12 points off just playing hard, off being physical, getting on the boards. But what he can do is be able to catch it and draw attention and be able to kick it out to guys that can then knock down shots or reattack the paint. And that's what now we're not getting in there. How many times have you seen a drop off in the paint? Just like Cigar getting in, drop it off to the big dunk. It's hard to do when we're playing almost 3 out, 2 in. It almost looks like.
Yeah, no, I feel you. No, because we were we were that way. We tried to run our offense it just gets stagnant, especially too when you it got to the point where we're trying to feed the post every play one of my years. And I think it was one of the years we came in last place in the Big Ten. So the thing with the offense the defense knows what you're doing at the same point. And TJD had 25 tonight. So you think about it, even if he gets 30, they don't. I don't think you win. And at this stage in the game, 2021, twos don't match up to threes, and it kind of showed tonight. Your best player gets 25, and we make some threes. That's the difference in the game.
Exactly.
So I think you can we run our offense through Travion, but if Travion's not open, Shasha's going to shoot it or Eric's going to shoot it, and there's no question about it. It's not he gets his buckets because we give it to him, not because necessarily we just run it through him.
Right, exactly. The question for you, have you ever seen a big guy pass better than Travion?
No, nah. Well, not that I play with, not that I watch, especially not come through Purdue. I think and two, you have to understand that. And for Paint to let a big man pass the ball is big.
One thing, did you see how apologetic he was when he turned the ball over at the end?
Yes.
And I was just like,
it's a privilege. It
was an all right pass, but I didn't say that. I understand completely.
No, it's a privilege for Paint to let anybody catch that ball in the post, a big fella, and pass it. It's one of those things where he'll tell you. Paint's honest. Paint's straight shooter. You're not here to pass it. And Travion is the guy where he gets it. Like Paint, I had Paint on the podcast yesterday. Paint almost wants Travion to get double teamed so he can't pass.
So he can pass the ball.
Yeah, so I think his eyesight, and I think Travion grew up wanting to be a guard. And that's kind of what I saw that with Jay Simpson. Jay Simpson was 6'10", and Jay Simpson he came out of Champaign and played. He had a heart condition, couldn't never really get in shape that well. But I think he was Travion before Travion. That makes sense. He could handle, shoot it. But that type of vision for a big man, I think Travion just always wants to be a guard at heart.
Absolutely, yeah. As soon as he gets it, he palmed it looking to pass it. So that
exactly.
He's an excellent passer. Got Alec Hammond. I don't want to destroy your name. We it's our first time doing this, so give us a little slack. IU shooters don't look to shoot one bit. It's a joke. Well, they don't have shooters, but still such. And if you don't have shooters, if you don't feel like you have shooters, you got to do other things to score. I remember watching them early in the season, and I felt like they were running. I thought, what's my man? Trey Galloway was hitting the lanes hard. He
Mm-hmm.
was finishing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think my man is a point guard. Al Durham is not a pure point. I think
Right.
he's almost a slasher in a two guards body. He was on the lanes running. So I
Oh
just
yeah,
thought,
no, that's
yeah,
that reminds me perfectly of my junior. I'm gonna cut you off, but what
Go
you're saying is, and that comment reminds me, my junior season, we don't have shooters. We have myself, we have John Octius,
Yeah,
Kendall Stevens, and Dakota Mathias definitely knockdown shooters.
yeah,
But then you have Vince, and you have Vince can shoot, but he's not a shooter. Then you have AJ. So we, like you saying, John Octius isn't your natural one. He's a two that can play your one. So we just were running. We didn't necessarily have offense. We get the ball to AJ, but other than that, let's just run and see what happens.
right.
For a team like that, I don't think you have to worry about offense because that was also we finished, I think, third in the Big Ten that year, or second or third.
Okay.
I was defensive player of the year. AJ's on the defensive team. So if you have that type of structure on your defense, and especially in the Big Ten, if you could defend and you could keep your team, the other team under 50, 60 points, you give yourself a chance. If everybody just kind of chips in, especially have a guy like TJD that can go out there and get you 25 every night. If you defend and you keep a team under 50, I mean, you give yourself you don't have to hit that many 3-pointers.
Right.
Exactly. No, I think the defense. I think because even allowing one thing that Purdue this season is one of our Achilles heels is that we allow so many threes. So I think we kind of flipped it on IU tonight. I mean, we just got so many good looks. And if you're gonna let Travion get 22, you can't let Eric, Sasha, and Brandon Newman get going on the outside and let Jaden Ivey attack the middle.
Exactly.
So, but no, I get the comments, but I think the focus needs to be more towards the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah. I mean, I think defensively they're solid enough. I just think none of it's turning into any offense for the team.
Right.
You're getting stagnant, and when you're playing a team as physical as the teams in the Big Ten, you look at if you look at the next stretch, they got at Michigan State, at Iowa, home at versus Rutgers, at Michigan, home versus Illinois. So you talking Big Kofi, you talking Hunter Dickinson, you talking Luka Garza, and whoever bigs MSU recruit. They only recruit rebounders and bigs. So it's like it's not gonna get back. So you got to start spreading these guys out, and you got to start teaching these guys to get to the rim, create for one another off drive and kick. And also, what's missing, what I liked about Purdue's offense is don't see a lot more in college basketball is the motion that they play within their pick and roll, within the high low, the curl cuts, the back doors. I mean, that's Indiana basketball.
Right.
You know, and that takes less energy to execute rather than having your bigs crisscrossing, setting ball screens and rolling the whole entire game. So it's like, so offensively, it's some things you can tweak a little bit. I'm not completely giving up on my Hoosiers, and I know some of my Hoosier faithful, they're gonna tell me, they always hit me, it ain't no good. You need to quit trying to be positive. It's like, things can change around just like they have for Purdue. I mean, you can go on a game winning streak, but it's gonna be you got to score more points. And I don't know how to be more blunt than that. I've watched the last couple games. You won scoring 75. And the team. But if you're gonna defend, you're gonna go Virginia defense. They have 60 points. You got to score 63 to win. So to me, it's really simple. I'm not.
No, I agree because like when they were beat.
Yeah, you got to score.
No, when they were beating us, like you're saying, it was like first thing I said was like Indy 500. They were running. Like Yogi was so fast.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those things where when we would practice, we would prepare. We would give our point guard a head start, and that would be Yogi. Yeah. So it's like he already has a head start on you. Got to catch up. That's how fast he would be. So like you're saying, it's kind of like Indiana basketball when I played. It was one of those, they're going to outscore you. They're going to get 90, 80. They're going to get 80, 90 points. They're going to make a lot of three-pointers. Do you think the recruiting or like, what do you think do you think they recruit because they're getting the names, I guess I would say. Do you think they need to recruit more, I guess, independent shooters and whatnot? They need like I saw a comment about Jordan Halls. It's like they don't have that Jordan Halls that maybe not be that NBA name, but he's gonna give you a hell of a career.
Exactly. I mean, that's why I'm saying I think they could be. I have trust in Kenya Hunter. I have trust in Archie Miller, Mike Robbins, and that staff to go out and get a Jordan Holes, to go out and get. You might not be able to get a Yogi Ferrell. That might be
Right.
tough.
Right.
That just don't happen. His
exactly.
development was different. But a Holes or a Tom Coverdale or there are a plethora of those guys hanging around that would love an opportunity. Anthony Leal is a guy that played a little bit today, didn't really play a lot. But I think if I'm coaching that kid, I'm telling him, you go in, you shoot 3 threes, and I'm taking you out. You make them, you staying in. You miss them, I'm gonna take you out, let you regroup a little bit. We're gonna try it again.
Right.
And that's gonna be your mission. That gives him confidence to knock down shots and not to worry about the defensive end and getting help. Like we'll figure that out. Don't worry about that. Like you come in, you knock down shots. So I think they're out there, and I think these are, like I said, these are fixes that the coaching staff have shown in the past that they're capable of fixing. I think they thought they might have had a little bit of it, but it's just not consistent, and you need that consistency to beat Purdue's a top 5 team in the league from the way they played tonight.
Right now, yeah, I agree.
Top 5 basketball team. They got everything you need.
Right.
So inside, outside, shooters. They got a 7'3" dude coming off the bench. Like, what else do you need? So it's all about gelling for them. They gotta like we talked about this upcoming schedule, figure it out really fast so it could get ugly really quick.
Right. Do you think, would you say, in the sense of the fans for IU, I know IU fans are aggressive. Like I saw a guy that said, like a guy replied to one of your tweets, he said, I mean, don't worry, it's okay. The Purdue game is the Super Bowl all year. For me, I mean, yeah, I want to beat IU every time. That's my Super Bowl. But do you think IU fans look towards the national championship a lot of times at the beginning of the season and kind of gets the hopes up too high? It's not. Let me ask you this.
I know.
For us, this is how I feel. Maybe this is not how Coach Payne feels. For me, winning the Big Ten championship, that's my first goal of the season.
Okay.
It always has kind of felt like winning the NCAA championship has always been IU's first goal. Do you think that puts too much expectations even on Archie or the program or even guys like yourself?
Yeah. First of all, it's like today is a what are you doing right now time? You know what I mean? It's like you ain't showing that you can win a championship right now. IU fans like, well, we need a new coach. We need everything. And it's like, and I'm sitting there like, man, things need to develop a little bit. It's year 4 for Coach Miller. He's shown he can recruit the state, which is something people were complaining about. But the problem is the expectations were so high from the 1976 team. They watched 20 plus years of just immaculate basketball. Even the teams that didn't win played immaculate basketball. You know what I mean? It was team basketball. People don't understand. Like when I was in school, we were top 3 in the Big Ten in scoring, even though we were a motion team. It's because we got stops defensively. We ran when we could, but we were efficient offensively most nights. And that's what the fans are used to seeing. So on one hand, you can't fault them, but on the other hand, it's like we have to exercise patience. Somebody just joked in here and said, "Oh yeah, Archie can coach. He's fine. Ha ha. Be patient." It's like, well, what else do we? What other opportunity do we have? We have no choice but to be patient and try to help find solutions. Because firing every coach is not going to be the answer. I know everybody thinks that's the answer, but it's a matter of them identifying what the issue is, the way the game's played today, and go out and try to get those kids that can fill those holes. Trey Galloway is going to need a guy that can fill it up around him.
Right.
Is TJD going to lead this year? Hey, it looks like it to me. I don't put nothing in the kid's mouth or nothing like that, but he's putting up 22 and 9. So most people who do that leave.
The Big Ten.
So now we got to replace him.
Yeah.
So, and they don't understand how tough it is in the one and done era. You got to think, Vic left early, Thomas Bryant left early, Noah Vonleh left early, James Blackman left early.
Troy Williams
left early. Like, come on, it's hard. IU and Purdue were the home of the 4-year player. You know what I'm saying?
And that's how Purdue, and that's how paints like, I mean, me and AJ, we grew to be old. I mean, you think about that senior class, they had 5 seniors, Dakota, PJ, Shaquille, Vincent, Isaac. They grew to be old. So you think about even Carson left as a junior.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Klein was a senior. Ryan Klein and Grady Eifert were seniors when they went to the Elite Eight. Grady Eifert started as a walk-on. So that's one thing your walk-on grew to be the most efficient player in college basketball.
Exactly.
So that's one of the things Paint has always been. Even now, they're young. They're extremely young, but their juniors were in that Elite Eight team a couple years ago.
Exactly.
So it's like they're young with experience. That's one of the things Paint has. Maybe we're not as talented as those dudes, but that's one thing Paint has always done is just been able to be consistent, keep guys maybe not year after year, but especially his every other year recruiting has been really, really strong in my opinion.
Right, for sure. And
Yeah.
Another thing, Eric Gordon left early. Like you can just going back. It's hard to replace those guys, man.
Yep.
I think IU has not done a good job of being efficient in the one and done era. It's tough. Not that they haven't done a good job. It's just hard to do. To
those players.
Zeller left early. It was like that whole team was out of there. So there goes a national title, Final Four appearance, and a national title right there. You know what I mean? Just that group of kids. So I mean, that's why I'm always patient. I see what happened before when I played. Nobody had left early.
Yep.
So
Langford.
Left early. Jay Edwards left early. But what's happening is a guy like Christian Lander has to, come along. He's young, 17 years old. We didn't see him tonight, and we got to be able to keep the core of these guys together. That's tough in the social media era, like in the era where we promote ourselves. So it's tough to keep them there, man, for the school to grow. And Matt Painter has been able to do it. At the end of the day, he's been able to stay old, and that's been the difference why Purdue has been consistently good over the time. Who's left early for Purdue?
Biggie left after his sophomore season. Okay. Carson left after his junior season. But yeah, Etuan left after Etuan graduated. Juwan graduated. Robbie did a 5th year. Lewis Jackson graduated. Then you think about DJ Bird, Tyrone Johnson. Other than that, we had a couple transfers. But I didn't play with a guy that left early. AJ could have, but AJ was staying off 4 years. Biggie left early, but it was a situation. Biggie left early, but it was still 5 seniors.
Exactly. Yeah.
So and Carson left early, but he kind of came in kind of with that class. It felt like he was kind of they only had 2 seniors. He was kind of the captain. It kind of felt like he had grew old with that program.
Right.
So
at the end of the day, you look at IU. You look at Finney. He's a junior. You look at Galloway. He's a freshman. I think Durham is the only senior. You got TJD. He's a sophomore. You got Thompson. He's a redshirt sophomore, I believe. And then off the bench, you got a 17-year-old freshman, and then you got another freshman from Bloomington. You got another. I don't know if Geronimo was a freshman or sophomore, but he's young coming off the bench. It's like, that's why I'm calling for patience, man. These kids got to grow up, and while they're growing up, they got to find another TJ. They might have to find another TJD. So it's like that's what's making it hard. That's what's making it tough for IU to be consistently good. It's not Archie's coaching ability. It's the fact that you got to continue to grow the team. Joey Brunk not being there, he would have been the oldest player.
Exactly.
And so that helps. Like you imagine this game tonight with Brunk battling Williams and Slide.
Yeah, no, I used to train with Brunk.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
So that's how old he is. That's crazy.
They said something about the last time I did something that he was the only one alive when I can't remember what it was. I was just like, dang.
Joey, my guy. But yeah, I used to train with. I was in college. I think Joey might have been a senior in high school. Joey Burton. Yeah, Joey Brunk. But Joey Brunk, I think that's a good thing you said that. He makes a difference. Even just his presence, having that older person, that older guy that's been through it. So when I had Drew Anthrop, who's now assistant video coordinator with the Lakers. So head video coordinator with the Lakers. So I had an older senior who had been through it, who I can go to and lean on. I necessarily didn't have to go talk to the coach about what's going on at that moment. So I get exactly what you're saying. So I think what you're saying is perfect with kind of how you're thinking about it with IU, kind of the way you thinking about how they should recruit and just recruit in a way that you allow your players to grow old and you get those diamond in the rough players instead of just getting all those I mean, not all those, but instead of trying to get every Mr. Basketball, every NBA player to come out, try and get you maybe a solid player, a Dakota Mathias that may play 4 years, then play in the G League, then make it to the NBA that still has it. So I get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, we got a fan that's from one of your Boiler fans saying IU whining about youth. We have 4 freshmen on the court.
We did.
And here's it. I'm talking about patience from a standpoint of maybe your freshman was better than our freshman. So it's not. It's like they have to grow. Christian Lander's supposed to be killing people in high school right now. You know,
right. Yeah.
Freshman, but you looks like you guys as freshmen is coming together at the right time. And at the end of the day, Indiana historically has to continue to get older, and that's what we're talking about. 4-2-5 Cubs and Boilers. Yeah, man, I ain't crazy. You know, I knew that these was when that went out there. I saw the comments. I was 8 in a row, 8 in a row. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get it on here, but I'm coming. I'm ready. I'm coming. Like you ain't gonna do me like that. I'm whining about
it. That is funny, man. But no, it's been after just looking you up, kind of watching some of your videos. I just want to say, especially before we get off, because what you're saying about IU, it makes perfect sense. Anybody can't. Somebody asked, was I in Fort Wayne? I'll be in Fort Wayne Sunday. I'm having a skills clinic in Fort Wayne at the Powell Center. If you have any youth kids want to come play basketball, let me know. At $10 to $15 per person. It's at the Powell Center, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. We're going to have probably 10 to 12 events this year. But, yeah, just be on the lookout. I'm not in Fort Wayne right now, but I will be on Sunday. But, no, like I was looking, like I said, I looked you up and kind of what you've done. Also, I kind of knew who you were. I mean, my point guard in high school is from Peoria, Antonio Drum Bobo. So, like I said, I'm Mike Robb. I just had Mike Robb on my podcast a couple weeks ago. Okay. So it's one of those things I knew your legendary status, and I appreciate you taking the time. But I think if any fan is giving you kind of any type of pushback, I think it makes perfect sense. So I don't think they want to see what I gotta say either.
Yeah, I don't think that person really understood what we're trying to say. It's like, can't be young. Just imagine if those 4 freshmen that played tonight all left next year because they felt they was good. Where would Purdue be at next year? So yeah, your freshmen are pretty good. I think it is a freshman have an opportunity to make a big impact. But I think IU is. We was talking about what they were used to, and they were used to, up until Coach Knight left. They were used to seeing guys grow together, old out there, beating people up, being physical. Like that's what the rivalry was. And
that's exactly because Cody Zeller. Cody Zeller and Vic did leave early, but Jordan Halls, Christian Wofford are seniors. Yogi stayed to be a senior. Yogi won 2 Big Ten championships. Yogi won a championship his freshman year with a senior group, and then Yogi wins a Big Ten championship as a senior. So I mean, he was with the group that was old. He grew to be old, and that's just the win culture, in my opinion, too.
Absolutely, yeah. You've been a part of it, so it's not what they call it, something that's hard to really to think about or to talk about. Like people want to complicate it. Like no, they got to come together. They're missing some pieces, yes. But what I like to talk about is what can we do now to try to win this year. I let the administration handle coaching and issues and all that. Ain't got nothing to do with that. How can we compete today with what we have? And that's really the thing that IU fans have to really grasp and be patient with.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'll let that. We can end on that. And definitely just want to say it again, 8 in a row. Boiler up. Make sure everybody tune in. Make sure everybody tune in. Make sure everybody tune in next year. 9 in a row. You might even get a summer league pickup game.
That's just crazy. I don't believe that happened. I believe that's a typo. It gotta be 8 in a row, man. Like 8 in a row. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that is crazy. I feel bad for every alum, every people, but
I'm the nice alum. The other one's going to right now. Like I can tell you that my phone blowing up. Like, what's up? What's up?
Imagine.
So I'm the nice one. Like, because I know
we lost to Indiana my freshman year. Lewis Jackson called me right after the game and berated me on the phone. So no, I get what you're saying about those
Yo, they mad. Trust me. But you got the right person on right now to kind of. I always believe you can always turn it around, even if you don't. So, thanks for having me on, though, bro. I appreciate it, man. I'm a great podcast.
Appreciate you.
With Paint. Everybody go check that out. Go check out the House of Hoosier podcast, man. My Hoosier fans quiet today, man. They ain't saying nothing. And we should be quiet when we take a butt whooping. You know what I mean? At the end of the day.
The eighth one.
Go check out that House of Hoosier podcast if you want to hear those stories from all the who's got podcasts with Yogi Farrell, Isaiah Thomas. I got Antoine Randall. We got Jared Jeffries, Jordan Hall, Tom Coverdale. I mean, Keith Smart. The list goes on and on, man. Check out both podcasts, Boiler Up as well, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, man. Hit that subscribe button. We appreciate y'all.